This podcast is based on the Chinese human rights defenders' August 29, 2024 report Hundreds Forcibly Disappeared in China, read by an automated voice.
Imagine, right? You post something online, maybe about basic freedom, something totally normal in a lot of parts of the world, and then bam, you're gone. Disappeared. No word, nobody's heard from you. Families freaking out.
That's the reality for a lot of folks in China these days, sadly. And that's what we're digging into today, trying to get a handle on how this even happens. We're looking at a new report here from CHRD, Chinese Human Rights Defenders, a non-government organization, about enforced disappearances over there. Heavy stuff.
Absolutely.
So, it's grim, right? The report doesn't sugarcoat it. This is straight up a tactic of the Chinese government to shut people up and keep control of any dissenting voices. Into the specifics, the stories are nuts, but we got to see the bigger picture too.
Absolutely.
First thing that got me, this story of Fang Yirong. He put up a banner on a bridge echoing another protest from 2022. Guess what? That original protester, Peng Lifa, vanished too, and like clockwork, Fang Yirong disappears shortly after his protest. CHRD basically is saying, look, this is a pattern and it's been getting worse, especially since 2019. They've got over 30 cases documented just from then.
The UN Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances, WGID, has 144 outstanding cases in China documented under its humanitarian mechanism as of May 2023. And that's just the ones we know about, right? Probably way more. And what is forced disappearance? It is not just someone going missing. That has a very specific meaning under international law. Yeah. It means the state, the government itself, is involved in making you disappear. And then the government denies any knowledge of where you are, what happened to you.
Wow.
So it's not an accident. It's not a random crime. It's the state putting someone outside the law completely, making them unbelievably vulnerable.
It's like they just erase you. The report doesn't mince words. CHRD calls it what it is. State-sanctioned terror. Make an example out you if you talk out of line, online, offline, doesn't matter. And it's not just you getting punished. It's a message to anyone else thinking about it.
Exactly. It's about instilling that fear. And I think people assume, oh, this is for like hardcore criminals or something, but it's not that narrow. This report, it's got human rights activists, religious groups, ethnic minorities, even ordinary people or government officials that has vanished by the state. So that tells you the net they cast is massive. Anyone even slightly a threat to how they do things, they're at risk.
So it's really about control then?
Absolutely. Control is the name of the game.
The UN has 144 officially documented cases. But even that, the report says, is probably just a fraction. Like that's just what they could claw together.
Yeah, it's got to be way more. And that right there tells you a lot, doesn't it, about how locked down information is over there. If it's this hard to even get a head count, imagine what else they're hiding.
So we kind of get who they're going after, right? But this report, it gets into the mechanics of it. And this lawyer, Gao Zhixing, his story, a rough one, shows how they ram things up.
Yeah. What happened to him?
Gone 7 years. This guy vanished. And they describe these phases, right, how it goes down. First it was prison, straight up. Then they moved him to house arrest, like, okay, maybe easing up, right. But then, poof. Gone completely, no trace. Like they were testing the waters each time bolder and bolder.
It's chilling how they use the legal system itself as a tool to make people disappear. Like this thing they call residential surveillance at a designated location. RSDL for short.
Catchy, right?
Basically they can hold you in secret up to 6 months and say it's national security, or whatever.
No contact, no lawyer, nothing. That's messed up.
Data from the Chinese government shows over 23,000 people went through this RSDL between 2013 and 2021.
And these are just numbers from the government, not names or details of who these people are. It goes back to that information control.
Who knows how many more are out there with no way to even ask?
So they're controlling the story by controlling who can even tell it.
Exactly. And it's not random, is it?
I mean, this Gedhun Chochi Nyama, he was just a kid when they took him, a Tibetan religious figure. What threat could a kid be? Right?
That's the thing. These cases, they show a bigger strategy. They're silencing dissent. Yeah, but also, they want to instill that fear. This kid disappearing sends a message to anyone thinking about challenging them in that regime.
So it's not just about the individual, it's their whole community, their beliefs, everything.
Absolutely control the narrative, control the people.
And this is where it gets even crazier, right? This isn't just happening inside China. The report, it's got all these stories about them going after people in other countries, like this lawyer Lu Siwei, trying to get to the US, be with his family. They grab him in Laos. Then gone. Next thing he pops up in Chinese custody, like a movie or something.
Wow. So how'd that even happen?
That's what the report digs into. Extradition treaties, leaning on other countries, all kinds of shady stuff. They even mentioned the Swedish writer Gui Minhai. Same deal. Vanished from Thailand, reappeared in China.
It's terrifying, right? You're abroad, then suddenly you're gone. No rights, nobody knows where you are.
And it's not just one-offs. They talk about these Uyghur refugees stuck in Thailand since 2014. Report says they're looking at being sent back to China, which they don't even try to be subtle. They're like, yeah, that's probably a disappearance waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah. These cases threw a real wrench into things. When we talk about international law, China, they signed the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, but they haven't ratified it, meaning they're not yet bound to the specific provisions. So it falls on the rest of the world to hold them accountable, which easier said than done.
So what can we even do? Report talks about this UN working group on enforced disappearances, trying to get into China for over a decade. Investigate all this. It's kind of bleak.
It's easy to get overwhelmed for sure, but even small things help. Talking about it, that's huge. Letting your representatives know you care about this stuff. Urge your government to ask China to sign and ratify the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance. Supporting civil society organizations on the ground documenting everything, fighting the good fight.
So it's about not looking away. Basically, the more we know, the harder it is for them to keep abusing people's rights. It's a reminder, this fight for basic rights, it's never over. Got to keep our eyes open here and everywhere else. Makes you wonder, what would you risk? To speak your mind, and how can we support those who are risking everything, every day?